Hello and welcome to yet another episode of We the People. This is a Planet Healer and this episode is extremely special for us because today we are hosting none other than our leading Planet Healer, that is Mr. Nandan Mall, the founder and CMD of Hulladek Recycling. Nandan sir, we would want to start with, why did you join the environmental space? What motivated you to start?
Wonderful. Thank you, Pooja. Thank you guys for having me. It's wonderful to have this podcast reaching all of you all. And I look forward to make a change and impact with this podcast and let more and more people know about the environment and sustainability space. In fact, my reason of joining the environment and sustainability space is very similar to the reason of starting this podcast. Because back in the day, I remember that I used to have this very maybe stupid problem of I just didn't like the fact that people littered on the street. And that was very common a decade ago in our country and probably still is. And I could just not stand it. And, and especially I've seen instances where there were bins barely 4 feet away and still people have thrown it. We started with that. And the idea was that people should understand what is the problem, why it should not be done, and how we can actually change it, because then just talking about it and not finding a solution doesn't make sense. And that's why I got into this space. And of course, it was something different. It was a business of the future, so to say. Even today, I don't think we have hit our peak. I don't know, maybe 10, 20 years more if we'll hit our peak. So yeah, it's a long-term project. And that's why I think, I came into the space and wanted to start Hulladek.
Right. And Nandan sir, you have been called the modern day kabadiwala since a very, very long time. So what is your take on this title that you have got?
It's absolutely fine. My family members called me suit boot wala kabadiwala. Some people have called me modern day kabadiwala. It's fine. I think it's good because the kabadiwalas also do a very important part, that is taking care of our waste. What we as super elites or the educated class generate. So it's good to know that, I can contribute back. And the kabadiwalas are someone I really respect because what they do is not easy. And, I can cite one example wherein, one IT grad wanted to create a robot which essentially goes and cleans the gutters, right, the sewers. So it was like a self-feeding. So basically the people would not have to go into the gutter and clean the gutter, and they were very happy and excited, and they got incubated and blah blah blah, and then they went and took this product to the people who actually do it. They laughed at them and they said this will not work. And he said, why? We'll study IIT, blah blah blah. He said, have you ever been inside a gutter? And he said, no. I said, exactly. So you don't know what it is inside like, and it will not work. And actually it did not work. And then he took that feedback, remodeled his robot, and now it's doing well with the feedback of the people who actually need it. So similarly, we also keep on learning from them. They are the largest collection network of waste, especially waste in the country. And we've managed to integrate a lot of them, make them our aggregators so that they can supply to the right places and make sure that the e-waste gets recycled responsibly. So I'm happy that, I get associated with an industry which is pre-independence. There are not many industries in India which existed before we became independent from the British. Steel is probably one, clothes are another, textiles are another. Not too many, but kabadiwalas or waste management is one such industry that has existed for many, many years. Right. More than the number of years our country has been independent. So I'm happy that I'm associated.
So waste is one such stream that has been going on since a very long time, and from what we can see, it will go on for a very, very long time in the future. We will get back to that in some time. But what I want to address right now is you spoke about incubating kabadiwalas within your system. You spoke about I would term it formalizing the informal sector. What are the challenges that you face when you approach them? What do you think? Why do they hesitate to join your network? And there is also a claim made by people that you are eating up their jobs by providing door-to-door services yourselves. You are probably taking away their bread and butter. So how do you help them? How are you not stealing their jobs? And how do you provide them better rates or better income stability, which you claim to do?
Okay, so the first thing is that the kabadiwalas primarily worked on a cash economy, right? So most of the material was being purchased and sold in cash. So there was no GST or no income tax, direct or indirect, being paid on it. So there's major loss of revenue for the government. The first challenge they face is this only. कि हम tax नहीं दे, right? They don't realize the benefit, that why you should have tax, how it comes back to you, what are the advantages. Slowly we have to educate them, make them open bank accounts, receive money in the bank account, sell material to people who will pay them in bank accounts, like us. So that was one thing. Second, of course, is that, there's also an issue in terms of they have been doing it for many generations. So the processes that they have been following are rudimentary, but then, they consider it like some ancient art, so to say. Yeah, chicken curry, for example, in clothes is a art form. तो अगर मैं किसी को बोलूँ कि 500 साल चिकन करी को मैं चेंज करूँगा तो सब मेरे पे हंसेंगे. तो similarly in waste also they consider the same way, that what we have been doing for generations is very relevant. But वो उनको समझाना कि it's hazardous, technology से आसान हो सकता है, you can get the same better efficiency out of the same cost or same time. That is another challenge. But we have found like-minded people, and very interestingly, the change makers in these kabadiwala homes have actually been the younger generation, the kids. Because, the fathers or the chachus or the dadus are not that willing to accept change. But when the children told them that, no, what this uncle is saying or what this bhaiya is saying is right, they did bring about a change in mindset. And then, of course, with the power of YouTube, they could see photographs, videos of processes happening and getting better outputs from the same material that they are processing. So that way we could convince them. And of course, then when we started offering them good rates, the loop got closed. And not only are they saying that it brings more efficiency, but they're also converting it into money. And that's how it made sense. So no, we are not really interested in taking away their jobs. We do door-to-door pickup services because unfortunately with kabadiwalas, they are not okay to basic things such as scheduling a pickup, maintaining a time, documenting the whole process, making a payment in the van, stuff like that. So that way we help them out because in fact we have aggregators who also do door-to-door pickups on our behalf. Where the request comes, from our system, but it's being done by the aggregator, picked up and then stored and then it's been transferred. So yeah, I think we've been happy with all the 15 odd people who work with us. There's no reason to take away their jobs. So they are a much needed and integral part of this network, because without them we cannot function. Because their collection network is so old and their network collection processes are so efficient that we will also take few years to learn them. But where it goes wrong is what happens post-collection. The recycling process is where it goes wrong.
Right.
Where the way the material should be recycled, the way it should be dismantled, that is wrong. So in collection, there is no question. They are far ahead of us and they're much better. But when the recycling goes wrong, is where the problem is. So just connecting them with us, we take care of the recycling process and they get their value. I think it's great.
Like there's also another debate doing the rounds, which is whether I should get paid for my waste or I should pay for my waste being collected and processed, or there should be no monetary thing involved anywhere in the system. So what do you think is the right way for different waste categories, be it e-waste, be it plastic waste? Should individuals pay for their waste being collected or should they be paid for their waste?
This is a very big subject. See, I'll tell you, when I was in Europe, I remember that, let me take an example of a CRT TV or monitor. So a CRT TV or monitor was an item that what we commonly call as a negative item in Europe. So in e-waste, if I speak, there are 3 types of material. There are positive, negative and neutral. So when I say positive, it basically means that the cost of recycling is lower than the actual recovery from the metal and the plastics and the glass. Negative item means that the cost of recycling is more than the recovery from the metals, plastic and glass. And neutral is where it gets set off. So I remember 13 euros a ton is what my Spanish company used to charge for disposal of CRT TVs. And at that time, CRT TVs here used to be traded at 500,000 rupees a piece to be purchased. And I used to be very dichotomic about the situation. Ki ye kya ho raha hai? That in one part of the world, it's a item for which they have to charge, and for one part of the world, it's value. I frankly find that the waste economy or the conversion from linear to recycling to circular cannot happen without monetizing it. Because if there is no money or financial gain involved, कोई अपने आप को linear to circular तब तक ही जाएगा जब तक उसके लिए वो impact नहीं in terms of money, right? So definitely money has to be a part, but the second part of it that impacts that why one should donate their waste versus why one should get paid for their waste is the cost of logistics. That today if I am going to pick up one laptop which is 30 kilometers away from my warehouse, the cost incurred. So the item might be a positive item in terms of recycling, but the cost incurred to pick it up might make it negative. And therefore, you expect a donation or you expect a charge for disposal. So these are the two factors that make it. So yes, in terms of talking only about recycling value, if someone is coming and dropping off their waste, 100% they should deserve to be paid. If there is no logistics cost, if that material is of positive value.
Right.
But in case there's a logistics cost involved, yes, we have to neutralize it either for a donation or for a charge. That's why we also are so progressively trying to build so many collection centers and points where people can actually come and drop off their waste, because it makes sense. Because logistically for us, it's not a challenge. We get waste in one place in a bulk quantity, and for them it's easier because it's maybe 2 kilometers or 4 kilometers from their home and they can go and drop it. So this adds value to the economy and makes it more circular, right? So yeah, absolutely. Without having a monetary angle to it, circular economy will not work. So it should be paid, but considering cost of logistics, recycling, etc.
Right. Also, we know that waste management is an industry which requires a lot of support and cooperation from municipalities, from government bodies, and it might not always be possible for a private company to keep such agencies happy, right? Because they have their own set of protocols, their ways of working. Private companies usually prefer modern and fast solutions to problems compared to government bodies or municipalities. So how do you keep up with them? How do you make sure that both are working in synergy?
Oh, fair point. No, I think we've had very good experiences and bad experiences with municipal corporations and corporate, entities. We've had some very successful partnerships, down south, even in east, even in west, where the municipal corporations are very proactive. They want the waste to be segregated. They want that it should be done properly, and they are even providing us with space, even providing us with manpower to do the pickups, etc. So it's about prioritization. If they feel that this is a subject that is important, they will spend. And they are given funds. It's not that they are doing it out of it. They are given funds to do it. So if they have funds, they are more than supported. In fact, a lot of municipal corporations even do auctions and tenders for this process. Like KMC, for example, did an auction for disposal of electronic waste collected through all the municipal collection. And that's absolutely fair, because the KMC should get the best value for it, considering they are putting in the time and energy and effort to actually collect it from all the wards. So we had positive, reactions with municipal corporations. The ones who are not interested are the ones who then find reasons to avoid it. Where perhaps electronic waste or plastic waste may not be the priority. They might have other issues that they have to deal with in priority, and therefore, it's not in priority. Otherwise, it's been a good experience.
Right. Now we know that Hulladek recycling has also entered other waste streams. Apart from e-waste, we are also now collecting battery waste, tire, oil, cloth, and plastic waste. But something that we are not doing currently is collecting plastic waste from individual households.
Yeah.
Because we have always said how difficult it is to segregate and process that waste. And in Kolkata, in the city that we are headquartered in, there is no real player of plastic waste here. So what do you think, as an industry expert, what do you feel is the solution that we are providing as an industry to the residents of Kolkata for their plastic waste, which is one of the most generated waste categories?
See, I tell you, plastic, again the concept, bring back to the concept of positive and negative items. So positive and negative items exist in plastic as well. Now in plastic, the parallel economy of so-called kabadiwalas is so strong that any plastic item which has a positive value, we will never find it reaching the landfill. Because the segregation at source is so good that they will ensure all the items of value are first picked up before the truck goes to the landfill. Let me give you an example of a PET bottle. You have soft drinks in, you have water in. That's the positive value. Today, PET bottles trade anything between 25,000 to 35,000 rupees a ton. Now, if that is the kind of value you can get for PET, then there's no challenge. The kabadiwala will ensure that he picks it up because usko to free mein mil raha hai, right? And he goes and deposits it to his local collection point. Then that goes to the bigger collection point. And ultimately, this goes to actual recycling units who are converting the PET bottles into yarn. And that's how the cloth industry works. Reliance is the biggest recycler of PET bottles in the country. In fact, Reliance Industries doubled their capacity of their plant in Gandhinagar for PET recycling last year. So they were doing about 250,000 metric tons, 250,000 metric tons a year. They doubled it to 550,000 metric tons a year. Now, can you imagine 550,000 metric tons of PET? How many bottles is that? So yeah, I mean, it's a positive value. But at the same time, you have multi-layer packaging, such as chips packets, biscuit packets, etc. That do not have a recycling value unless some technology comes and changes that, right? So that ends up in the landfill. And when that ends up in the landfill or that ends up unsegregated, then what happens with that is that the household also ends up looking at that only. We did a pilot for almost 6 months where we collected plastic waste from homes, and we realized 2 problems that would come. One, we never got PET, right? Because people knew there is a value, तो पहले ही छट के अलग हो जाता था. What we got, the second problem was it also contained food waste. Because when a half-eaten packet of chips or a half-drunk bottle, is being thrown, so it contains the wet waste and food waste also, which again creates a further problem. So you can't segregate that. Then it gets stinky, there is a bio angle, a lot of issues are there. So that's where we stop. Because that segregation at source, probably there are organizations in the country who are doing it, who have managed to convince the customers, who have managed to educate the citizens that you have to segregate. But हमसे नहीं हो पाया. So perhaps if we can work on that, we can resume plastic waste no-to-do collection for the non-recyclables. But again, the non-recyclables, because there is no value chain attached to it, it has to be funded by something. So otherwise, I'm collecting that, but if it's not sellable or not recyclable, I don't get any money out of it.
Right.
If I don't get money, then what happens?
Correct.
Right? So ultimately, then that has to be funded. That's why the concept of EPR is doing so well. The concept of deposit refund schemes in plastic is doing so well. Where money collected at the time of purchase of product is deposited and that money is used to recycle it or collect it back. These kind of schemes coming into the market will work very well. Another beautiful thing that is happening is to encourage recycling of non-recyclables is that brands like Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, etc. are now mandating use of PCR, which is post-consumer recyclables, in manufacturing of new plastic packaging items that they are using. Let me give you an example. You must have noticed that aaj se 8-10 saal pehle, the Coke bottles or the water bottles used to come in crates. These crates made of LD, hard crates, they used to come in. Now, if you buy a Coke bottle, 6-pack or 10-pack, you will see it is shrink film wrap. It does not come in a crate. Why did it this? Because the LD had a very high recycling rate, वो वापस ही नहीं आता था. Because वो चोरी हो जाता था दुकान से या दुकानदार खुद बेच देता था. It never came back. So they realized that there is no value. So shrink film became easier, but shrink film is a non-recyclable. And shrink film is a non-recyclable. The value became very less. Also, it would get mixed in normal plastic waste. तो उसको segregate करके निकालना. And shrink film का वजन क्या है? कुछ नहीं है. Coca-Cola has mandated from the year 27-28 that a minimum of 20% and then increasing 10% every year over the next 5 years, 27-28 to 32-33, up to 70% of total production of shrink films has to be done through post-consumer shrink films which are recycled. Which means that Coca-Cola is going to be incentivizing collection of shrink films back from the market. Right? And that has to be collected back, put into a grinder, recycle it, उसका दाना बनेगा, दाना बन के उसी दाना से नया shrink film बने. Right? So that kind of an incentive will help companies like us as well. So if they're doing it for shrink films, tomorrow we can start collecting shrink film because Coca-Cola is willing to pay for it. Right? So unless such scheme comes, the non-recyclables unfortunately will also be non-monetary and therefore also non-recycled, non-collected, non-segregated. The day that starts happening, the money comes from, why not? It will happen.
So this makes me question one thing. We understand how this entire process that you just explained is very good for conserving natural resources and for not creating future waste, minimalizing future waste. But if we think from a business point of view, the kind of energy, time, resources and money that goes into this entire process of reprocessing that shrink film, that machinery, that electricity cost, that fuel cost, वो जो लग रहा है उसी wrapper को दाना बना के फिर से wrapper बनाने में, is it justifying the?
It's more than justifying because the water usage, electricity, energy usage to build the new one is much more.
Okay.
Because when you are getting a post-consumer recyclable, it is already in the form you want it. All you have to do is convert it into raw material and then repurpose it.
Got it. So it's more energy efficient and more
100%.
cost effective than using virgin.
Cost effective, no. Cost effective because the scale and volume probably
wouldn't be as high as
were high.
Yeah.
But definitely more energy efficient, definitely more electricity, definitely environmental impact is lesser.
Right.
Definitely all these things are there.
Right. You also mentioned big companies taking such initiatives, which makes me question CSR funds is again a very highly debatable topic right now. A lot of people believe that a majority of CSR funds is just plain greenwashing, right? As a company who also provides certain level of CSR services and as an environmentalist at heart, what do you think are CSR projects actually a sham? And if they are, to what extent, what is the solution to that?
Waste management industry or CSR projects are sort of like that. But, you know, there's a harsh reality to the fact that in case that हाथी के दिखाने के दांत are not there, तो खाने के दांत भी नहीं रहेंगे. What I mean by that is maybe 100 is being reported, but 30 is being done. But if 100 will not be reported, 30 will also not happen.
Okay.
So it's sort of like a necessary evil at this stage. Right? It's not greenwashing completely, but yes, people try to optimize so to say their costs, right? And also, I think corporates do not have that kind of patience. Let's take an example of a very common CSR activity, which is plantation of trees.
Right.
You know, now when is a tree technically planted? When the sapling is sprouted and you can see that the fruit, if it's a fruit bearing tree, then the fruit starts showing. Or if it's a non-fruit bearing tree, at least the leaves and everything come out. But in a CSR project of planting trees, just laying the seed means trees planted. But who's taking care of it? Who's maintaining it? How many seeds actually germinated into a tree? No one's saying that. But at the same time, अगर हम seed डालेंगे तो tree तो होगा ही. है ना, हो सकता है 100 में से 30 trees ही हो या 50 trees ही हो. But वो 50 तो हो रहे हैं. हो गया, हमने 100 रिपोर्ट कर दिया. But अगर हम डालेंगे ही नहीं तो होगा ही नहीं. And that is the example.
Got it.
Yeah.
But also waste management industry is known to be quite a localized business. It is believed that you know, जितना cost लगता है, जितना fuel लगता है transportation of waste में वो set off कर देता है the goal that we are trying to do, right? Having said that, Hulladek as a company is also trying very hard to expand, to provide pan-India services, to have their services available in all parts of the country. So if you can just tell us your action plan, how do you plan to go nationwide without creating that kind of a problem?
So we are primarily wanting to spread our wings through two models. You know, one is a business model and one is a social model. Under the social model, you know, we are setting up collection centers and collection points with NGOs, schools, colleges, which give us the space and we set up a bin and we do awareness activity, and people who are associated with that organization or with that community or with that area can come and dispose of their waste there. It's a very zero cost and a zero environmental impact activity because the space already exists. The real estate is already there. You know, we are using iron, which is the highest recyclable material, to build a bin. There's no challenge there. We try and transport the bins as much as possible through electric vehicles, right? So emission free bhi hai. So the impact is very low, right? And it's a community model, but of course that does not lead to bulk generation of waste. That leads to more awareness creation or more knowledge sharing. The second model is a business to business model where we set up franchisees and the franchisees do collection on our behalf and then go to big industries, organizations, etc. and pick up the waste from there. That, of course, has an environmental impact because diesel vehicles are being used, warehouse is being stored, electricity is there, etc., etc. But probably the amount of waste that they collect and the CO2 emissions that they are being able to reduce, maybe it sets it off. But it will be wrong to say that it's been set off 100%. There is still a long way to go. But yeah, at least we are getting there. Another good example in this is the fact that when we set up collection points of franchisees and an individual or organization is willing to drop off their waste in that society, that individual tremendously contributes to the reduction of CO2 emission. Because the entire cost that would have gone in printing that paper when, to take the vehicle out, for that manpower to come to work in his vehicle too, so that he can go and pick it up. All those costs get reduced if he comes and drops off. So we are really encouraging and even incentivizing drop-offs. We want to offer good rates. We want to offer people the chance to get the maximum value out of their waste if they are willing to take that effort and actually drop it off. Because the environment impact is low and it does create a better, manual for the entire value chain.
So, Hulladek has been in business since the past 10 years in Kolkata, right? And we have seen most metropolitan cities, be it Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, all of these cities or states have some sort of recycling facility or recycling plant in place. Why is it that West Bengal as a state or Kolkata as a city still is lagging behind in this aspect?
So we were lagging behind. Good news is that, yes, the recycling capacity of Bengal as a state has increased this year. We had 2 new recyclers of 10,000 metric tons and 7,000 metric tons per annum respectively come and open recycling facilities in the state. So that's a good sign. Because before that, frankly, Hulladek alone used to collect more than the total recycling capacity of the state in a year, which was a sad data or statistic. So that has changed. But we are the 7th largest state in terms of GDP in the country, but probably the 20th or 25th in terms of recycling infrastructure. A lot has to be done. Maybe people realized late, in Assam they say lahe lahe. Bengal is sort of that also, slowly. So things happen, but they take that time. So, theek hai.
Right. We also know a lot of waste management companies do not really recycle their waste 100% or at all. Like, just for an example, I'll tell you, let's say a cigarette butt recycling company, instead of recycling it, they use it as a stuffing for stuffed toys, right? We know that. So what is your view on that? How many companies do you know who are actually recycling their waste, and how many are there who are just showing that they're recycling but they're actually not doing?
I will answer this with what Ayushmann Khurrana said to Karan Johar in Coffee with Karan. कि आपके हैम्पर के चक्कर में अपने रिश्ते बिगाड़
Okay.
So next question, please.
Okay. So we will move on to the next question. You have grown this huge company, right? And at such a young age, you have, I would say, inspired so many people to become planet healers and created so much of impact in the waste management industry and in the environmental space. Now I know it's a fashion that at a young age people start getting rich and successful, but not for your generation. Not that I'm calling you old, but yes. How does it feel to make so much impact at the age of 30? Making such a big business and making such a name for yourself in an industry where usually a lot of, I wouldn't use the term senior citizens, but usually people older than you are pioneering it, being one of them. How does that feel?
It feels great. And first of all, it feels good because I'm younger one in this industry, because we are a few now who are in our 30s, maybe 15, 20 of us. But most of the people in the e-waste industry are in their 40 plus, 50 plus bracket. The good part is though that we 15, 20 entrepreneurs have managed to drive a lot of youth into the organization and a lot of youth in leadership roles. Something that probably doesn't happen in the other recycling units. Because when the young think, they are wild, they are free, and they want to keep on innovating. So we get a lot of positive learning and feedback. In fact, we have even started one interesting concept this year where we are doing employee exchange programs between young recycling companies. So we are doing one next month with Mumbai-based recycler and us in Calcutta. So their team will come here, our team will go there, and there'll be idea sharing and there'll be learning. I think that's the true impact, because ultimately what I feel is that I created an atmosphere or an environment where people can innovate, try, and make new things happen. A lot of our projects, or even for example, revenue sources or lines of work, are actually ideas that came through our brainstorming sessions, or through someone having an idea, presenting it one of their review meetings, and we taking it up. So that way I feel happy that 10, 20, 30 years from now also, what me and what my fellow young colleagues have done is we have created an ecosystem where young people can keep on coming and innovating. In terms of impact, of course, it feels good. Not too many people can call themselves an expert of a subject in their 30s. So that feels really good, because when I'm going to conferences or I'm going to meetings as an expert, that feels very nice, right? And of course, in terms of knowledge, I feel that my learning years have been very nice, because 10 years at the age of 31, 32 is quite remarkable for anyone. And luckily, when I started is when everyone started, because the industry started then. So everyone's learning and my learning is same, but I just got it at a younger age. So I have much more to do with it. So that way I've been lucky, I've been nice. I feel that probably I could have started 2-3 years earlier and probably been a little more ahead of the curve. But yeah, I think I'm happy about it. And looking forward to many more opportunities.
Right. So you spoke about inspiring young people to create this level of impact. What do you think, knowing that Hulladek Recycling is a company where a majority chunk of the people are under the age of 30, what do you feel are the pros and cons of having a team that is so young and fresh?
So pros are, which might be a con for me as an entrepreneur or as a business owner, is that I think a lot of new entrepreneurs will come out from here.
Okay.
Right? That people like you or other members of our team who have the business mindset might start their own. It's already happening in other parts of the country. Probably might happen with us also. So that's good, because if an employee becomes an employer and creates more employment, इससे better कुछ नहीं हो सकता. Okay, so that's a pro. In terms of con, what also happens is that sometimes the youth do not have loyalty, in the sense that not loyalty to the organization, but loyalty to the concept. So, one very interesting data is people caught cheating in exams. You Google this. Anyone who's watching this should Google it. Okay? People caught cheating in examinations last 50 years. Okay? In state board and central board exams. Okay? What is the percentage or number? And that number has really gone up in the last, decade or so. So youth want shortcuts. And the shortcuts, you end up cheating. You end up cheating the system, it creates problems. This is the main issue with youth being primarily involved. With someone who is a little more stable, a little more older, they know what they're risking, and they know that their ethics are in place or their value systems are in place. So ऐसा नहीं करते generally. Also, another very interesting that has happened with youth is that the basic needs are taken care of. So the fear of losing a job or the fear of doing something wrong is reduced severely, which makes them kind of want to break the rules a little bit. And we've been told that also, that disruptor, we use these words in the entrepreneur, disruptor. And if disruptor means bigadna, so bigadna, how is it good? But we say disruptor. So this is a challenge. But overall, I think it's better to have young people, because frankly, they last longer, so it's okay.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things that you are involved in currently, be it collection, be it EPR, be it in some cases marketing also. So many places. What is it that you enjoy doing the most?
Yeah, this is a very big problem because now my life, my Masaji, he has worked with the CK Birla group for all his life. He is now retired and he started off, I think, as an accountant or something, and he ended up being a plant head of one of the cement plants. That has been his journey. And, he used to tell me something that senior management should always take decisions only based on what's on paper. That he used to rubbish saying all these hands-on management is all crap.
Okay.
Then why do you have people?
Right.
If hands-on management means that you have to go and do your mystery shopping, if you have to go and do sample checks and audits in your whatever setups, warehouses, factories, then why do you have people? Yeah. You should always only act on what's on paper. Okay. Now at Hulladek, I think I have reached that stage where I am only taking decision based on the paper. Yeah. मेरे पास message आया, oh material received, oh material picked up, oh material stored, oh material reached the warehouse. But physically, I am not seeing anything happen. The joy of going and closing a deal, the joy of actually physically smelling e-waste when you pick it up, all that is lost. Because now I'm just smelling paper. And in fact, now that you're so digital, I'm just smelling my laptop. So that I miss the most. Well, I remember a couple of years ago, we had done that where I did pickups.
Yes.
For Diwali.
10,000 pickup.
10,000 pickup I did. I think it was a great experience for me personally because I got to actually smell e-waste again. I could do that haggling again. I could drive the truck again. I could do all of that. So that I miss the most because that is why it all started.
Right.
And ultimately, now there are people who are doing that, and it's wrong of me from the company's point of view to get involved in stuff like that. And I have to have systems in place that still find the faults or still find the gaps or still even find the successes. But the system has to do it and the paper has to do it. So that is something I miss.
Right. Also, being a company that is into waste management or into the sustainable space, what processes or protocols you have established in the company which kind of promotes that? Because I'll just give you a few examples. Let's say digitizing versus usage of paper, or let's say employees smoking versus non-smoking. Since smoking is considered one of the environmental downgrades, there's still a debate on that, but just saying ki, what are the protocols or the processes that you have put in place as rules or as SOPs that you think promotes this idea within employee lifestyles as well?
So let me tell you, you were also a part of it when we tried to start segregating waste at work.
Yeah.
So we, being a waste management company, for the first 7 or 8 years of our existence, did not segregate our waste at work.
Yeah.
Which was so sad.
Right.
And even though we were only doing electronic waste then, but we would not segregate our plastic, paper, recyclable, non-recyclable. That was the biggest challenge. We placed bins, we did seminars, we incentivized people, we discriminated against people or punished people for not doing it. I took a really long time to make it happen. Now, I would say still 70% we are there. We don't do it 100%. That was one, right? Second, of course, was I remember one Durga Puja, pre-Durga Puja, we had a brainstorming session. I asked this pertinent question that how many people in the lane that our office is recycle their waste with us? And we are going across the country, we are saying pan India, blah blah blah. But हमारे गली में जिस ऑफिस में हम रोज आते हैं, उस गली में जो 100 घर हैं, वो 100 घर में से कितना ही वेस्ट हम उठाते हैं. And that I think really opened a lot of people's eyes. For the show and the social media and for the world, we are doing everywhere, but हम अपने घर को ही नहीं साफ रखते थे. So since then, I remember we started sponsoring the Durga Puja Pandal, doing collection drives during Durga Puja in our lane. And now everyone in the lane knows Hulladek and knows that e-waste has to be recycled. That was also something that we did. In terms of digitization, of course, sometimes to the, how do I say, to not so happy faces, we use a lot of refurbished electronics. And so we don't buy new electronics. In fact, 90% of all electronics we use in our office are refurbished. From the air conditioners in our conference room, to the laptops that we use, to the server, to the thin client, to the printers, to the phones, everything is refurbished. So the first thing is that हम अपना environmental impact कम कर रहे हैं, वो हम नया को avoid कर रहे हैं. We're not consuming new. Right. Second, of course, is that we have been very digitally conscious in the sense that we avoid printing as much as possible. There are only, I think, 2 printers or 3 printers in the entire office for a staff of 50 plus, which probably the man would be crazy. But yeah, we do that. We try and keep it as much less as possible. We've also set up a password protected printer system. So if someone wants to print, they need to put the password to ensure that wastage of paper nahi ho raha hai. Another good thing that we do is we have a self-service kiosk in terms of food. So we expect that people should wash their own utensils, take care of their own food waste, etc. and segregate it in the bins. So उससे भी काफ़ी फ़ायदा होता है. And we ensure that गलत जगह गलत खाना या गलत चीज़ नहीं जाए. So these are a few steps that we've taken, but I think a long way to go. Still a lot of things, like smoking, as you mentioned. We are an office of smokers. We do smoke a lot. And we have a very open smoking culture. We even have a smoking bin. So that is encouraging smoking, if I may say so. But yeah, I think that is one evil perhaps we should take care of.
Right. And since the festive period is ahead of us, I think this is a very pertinent question in Kolkata. Durga Puja is one of the major, I would say, platforms that companies get to advertise themselves and their services, right? And we have been seeing a lot of campaigning happening against the use of those plastic flex banners that line the streets during Durga Puja. So being a business person, I know you love marketing also as a sector. So being a marketer also, what would you choose? You would choose a good platform for your company to be advertised on, or you would choose the environmental good of not going that way?
Yeah, it's a tough ask, but let me answer that with another example. So I'm a meat eater.
Yeah.
I'm non-vegetarian.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the carbon or CO2 impact of meat processing industry is enormous.
Correct.
Okay? So, some may say that whatever I'm doing, if I'm eating meat, I'm sort of cancelling that out.
Correct.
Now, ultimately, you have to know that what is it that you want to do as a organization. We all saw the new video by Apple where they are speaking about their sustainability goals and what they are going, how they are making their products carbon neutral. But to achieve that, Apple's customers will have to pay a premium price. Now, similarly, if our customers tomorrow agree that, hey, Hulladek सही से recycle करता है, therefore take material for free. Why not? The carbon neutrality goes up, the recycling goes up, the efficiency improves, everything improves. But if Apple is confident that their customers are willing to pay that extra price for a carbon neutral product, or their pricing will be done such, then it's okay. Similarly, if our customers are willing to compromise on the price, then it's okay. Yeah. So it has to be a cycle. Otherwise, single-handedly you can't do too much. Coming back to the Durga Puja question, the same thing happens. If someone who's advertising, there are cloth banners available, but cloth banners are double or triple the cost. If the advertisers are willing to do it, why not? Cloth banners are better. उसको reuse कर सकते हैं. So multiple type, उस पर repaint कर सकते हैं. उसको rebleach कर सकते हैं. बहुत options हैं. But the use and throw mentality has become so कि आज की cost देख रहे हैं, long term नहीं देख रहे हैं. Becomes a problem. Also, another very big issue with marketing and use of unsustainable products is the messaging keeps on changing. The messaging keeps on changing. आप एक banner को multiple times नहीं use कर सकते because you're trying to say something different every time. That becomes a problem. So if content can be designed in such a way that the messaging can be saved and we can tweak around the campaign with it. If the, so assets can be used in such a way where they are made of cloth and they are utilized in a better way. हो सकता है. But it's a tough ask. I mean, someone who really wants to do it, only they will do it.
Okay. Also, we have International E-Waste Day ahead of us. What are your views on the e-waste community? Like you mentioned, there are a lot of young people in this community. And from what I know, it's a very collaborative community. Like you always keep saying कि जितने भी players आ जाए कम है, they are always welcome. New people are always welcome in the industry, which I think there's no other industry who would say such a thing, right? Why would you invite competition? So what do you want to say to your audience about International E-Waste Day or e-waste industry in general?
We are very nice people.
Amazing.
Very nice, coming people. And International E-Waste Day was actually a milestone because this was only started, I think, 5-6 years ago. And E-Waste didn't have a day. Everything has a day. And we would have to basically survive on the scraps of World Environment Day because we didn't have anything. So now we have a day and we can only talk about e-waste and what the problems associated with this. So we are very happy that this day comes. And the good part in my life is International E-Waste Day is actually the day of my wife's birthday also. So it's a double celebration for me that both my wives, my work and my actual wife celebrate on that day. So that's also a great win for me. And I think it's good. The e-waste industry is a fast growing industry. A lot of people are entering the market, especially in this year after the new rules have come in place and the scope of e-waste has expanded so massively. And welcome to all. Chappi Pao, the CPO, that's how it is because we want more and more people. Only 5% of the e-waste actually gets recycled in a proper way. अगर और players नहीं आएंगे तो 95% कहाँ जाएंगे? So we are more than happy, more than welcoming. And also this industry is sort of like, family wherein unless we are sure about you, we will make sure everything under the sun to ensure that you don't interrupt or don't become a part of the family. But once you become a part of the family, then you're a part of the family. Then no one touches you. Then you're one of us. And that's how it is. Consider like a new husband, a new wife, entering a family. तो पहले आप सब छानबीन करोगे, आप इंश्योर करोगे that the right person, then you will get them. It's the same thing here. But then once they are in, then there's no looking back.
Right. So, like you said, everyone is invited to join this industry. And earlier, a year or so back, the barriers to entry were quite high, given the older rules, given how slowly the ministry was giving out licenses. What do you think with the introduction of new rules, has that process eased out? Or the service that we actually provide to our producer clients, has that improved? How have the new rules impacted us?
The new rules have expanded the scope tremendously. Item list has expanded. So more and more items can be considered as e-waste. It has made compliance much easier. Only the major players are being asked questions. The value chain mein, the aggregator or the PRO or the collection center doesn't really have to do too much reporting. वो आराम से अपना काम कर सकते हैं because they are talking to the producers, talking to the recyclers, and the government is getting the relevant information from them. So collection of e-waste, recycling of e-waste, both at the consumer end as well as the collector end has become much simpler.
Right.
And that will lead to more and more collection and more encourage participation in such programs. So the new rules have been very good overall, and I encourage that more and more people should enter and build the recycling facility capacity of the country in a larger scale. Unfortunately, right now, we do not have installed capacity to recycle the total e-waste that is generated in our country. The total installed capacity is about 10 or 12% of total generation. and उसमें से 50% we are doing about 5-6%.
Okay.
So that needs to really increase. So making that ease of collection will also encourage more and more people to set up recycling facilities, because then they can solve the problem.
Right. And there was also a lot of back and forth happening about the inclusion of PROs within the system. What is your view on that?
Oh, we are very much a part of the system. There is no two ways about it. Our scope of work has really increased, because with more and more recyclers, more and more people will need segregated waste. And now with items also further segregated, further segregation is required of the waste. So PRs are more very, very integral part of the value chain. There's no challenge about it. And also the fact that awareness is such a big issue. And PROs have been the ones who've been driving awareness for the last 5 years. Awareness is only going to increase. More and more people are going to know about the e-waste industry, and more people are going to learn and also become a part. So yeah, no challenge there.
Also, like you mentioned that, the amount of waste we are generating, we do not have the capacity to treat that kind of waste, right? But few months back, there was also talks about importing or exporting of waste that was being generated in India, or importing waste from other countries. Like the importing of EV batteries in India, drastically affected the prices of EV manufactured batteries in India. How do you think decisions on import or export of waste is going to affect us as a company?
Yeah, if import increases, definitely domestic prices will crash, no question about it. And if export increases, domestic prices will increase. That's as simple as that. And but import of e-waste is a blanket ban for now, so there's no challenge there. Export of e-waste is allowed, and we've been doing it primarily printed circuit boards. India exports maybe about 20,000 tons of printed circuit boards in a year, primarily to Europe and to China, and that gets processed there. That's what it is.
Okay, so what would be your 5-year or 10-year action plan for yourself as an individual, and for Hulladek Recycling as your baby, as your organization?
Personally, though, I would want to have more time to lose weight and have a more healthy lifestyle.
Yeah.
Also, Hulladek as a baby should be taken care of by their other parents, so that I can spend time with my baby. And whenever that happens, that is also a personal goal that I should have. Secondly, of course, we hope to become a 100 crore company in the next 5 years.
Right.
And we want to be present in every state with our own brand name.
Right.
There are 2 visions that we have. Also, I think that Hulladek should at some stage enter into recycling of waste and recovering precious metals from it, because the value, that's the best, and then you can actually call yourself a true recycler, because you're going to the last stage of recycling and finishing it off. And these are the couple of things that Hulladek's vision would be.
Correct. Now, my last question to you would be a tricky one, and that is, what is it that motivates you? And you have to choose one. Is it creating environmental impact, or is it building a profitable company?
Okay. No, see, I'll tell you, going back to the point of the smell of e-waste, when I used to pick it up, and smelling or dealing with the pickup of e-waste rather than the paperwork.
Right.
Frankly, I think, and I've heard this about a lot of entrepreneurs, I don't want to say it right now and jinx it, but money beyond a certain stage is only a number. Because today there are a lot of entrepreneurs who have so much money that they don't know what to do with it, or they don't really care because their needs are that limited, but paise bante aa rahe hain. But the day that happiness goes, the day that every time I enter a room, people are talking about Hulladek more than me. In fact, this is the problem. I tell my family people that also ask me how I am. Like, if you're meeting me after 2-3 months, ask me how I am. No, I saw this, Hulladek did that, nice reel on Instagram, nice story. है ना? So
That's
I'm not,
validation for the market.
yeah.
Yes.
So all these things, I mean, but then it's joy because I'm sure if it doesn't happen, I'll miss it. But definitely the impact, because the impact is going to be longer lasting than the money. So, you know, as Mukesh Ambani says it, impact is a value, progressive value thing, and money is negative. Yeah, who loses value over time. So definitely the impact.
Right. So thank you so much for joining us today, sir. And we will be back with you with another episode of We the People. Tab tak, sabko batao, waste hatao.